everybody, I am Tiffany, and today I am doing another book review. Yes, let's go, book review time. This is a book that I got at the Y'all West Festival, like back in May. Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen the other reviews out by now that are from Y'all West, but guys, I'm slowly making my way through my Y'all West pile. This book, it is called Overdrive, and it is by an author named Don Ius, I-U-S. I probably butchered that really badly, so I'm truly sorry if I have. At Y'all West, there's a table for, Riveted, it was, and he got this little present, and he didn't know what book was inside. And I opened it, and it ended up being Overdrive. This book, out of all my Y'all West books, was actually the one I was most hesitant to read because, one, I didn't know the author really, which isn't a bad thing at all. The other ones I kind of had heard of before. And then also, the back was blank. No description or anything. It's nice to see there's a description in case you feel like reading it. So it kind of threw me off that there was a blank cover on the back. Then no blurbs or anything. No, it's actually out now. If you go in your bookstore, whatever it may be, it's probably in there. I've seen it in there, so it should be in there in the teen section. But since I did get it at Y'all West, just letting you know, it is an ARC, and if you've heard what I've said in the past ones, there's a bunch of other books I really want to buy, so I'm just going ahead and reading the ARCs for a lot of these, and maybe in the future, maybe I'll buy the actual book, but this is pretty close to it. It has 337 pages. I think it said they're supposed to be 352. And I feel again that I got everything out of it, all the important stuff that happens. So unless she drastically changed the ending, I don't think it's going to necessarily be a problem. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. But if I'm talking and you're like, Tiffany, this isn't how it ends, let me know, and I will eventually go out and buy the book and see how she changed the ending. So I was really hesitant to read this book, but I actually was really surprised by this book. I really enjoyed myself. I really didn't know what to expect because I got a car mirror and Las Vegas. You see that? It's like a blurry Las Vegas. So I was like, road trip to Las Vegas? I didn't know if I was going to like this, and overall, I actually really did. I had a really fun time with it, and it wasn't a perfect book. There were flaws here and there, and sometimes the plot wasn't completely developed as much as I wanted it to be, but it was still really good. If you're looking for sort of a lighter read, yes, it addresses certain topics that can be heavy, but it doesn't go super deep into them completely, so it's not like you're going to be sitting here bawling like in Fault in Our Stars or Me Before You, okay? If you're looking for a light read that's kind of adrenaline rush, action-packed, I think you'd like this book a lot. It's very quick. I flew through this book. I literally sat down and read this in a weekend. For those of you who want to know, this has a 3.78 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I think it deserves to be a little bit higher in my personal opinion. I gave it 4 stars because I did have a really fun time with it. But again, I get why it's a little bit lower on there. I still definitely think you should give it a chance. I think you'd really enjoy it overall. The basic plot of this is it follows a girl named Jules, or Julia, she goes by Jules, and her sister Emma, and they are in the foster care system basically. Jules, to support them, she has to hijack cars in order to make money to help support her and her sister. And on one of these occasions, she ends up getting caught, and she ends up having to move to this new foster home with her sister. But this foster home is kind of her last chance for her to stay with her sister. She ends up meeting a bunch of these other teenagers that end up having these special abilities, not superpowers. They are really good with high-tech stuff. And they end up having to work together to hijack these specific cars for the guy who is taking care of them. They're foster parent. It's a combination of Fast and Furious and Gone in 60 Seconds in one book. It's definitely fun. If you like those type of movies like Fast and Furious and all of that, you'll definitely, I think, like this book. And I really like the heist feel. It does have a very heist feel to it. Any book that has a heist in it, I love that stuff. Like the last book that had a heist thing to it that I read was Mistborn, the first book in this trilogy. The other two weren't really, but the first one was. That's really all I can say without spoiling you. I want to jump in and talk about some points in here. Go read this book for yourself, and I think you'll really, really like it. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's fun. And that's the main thing, is that you have fun with the book and enjoy it. Don't go hijacking any cars though, okay? Goodbye, non-spoilery people. Come back once you've read the book. All right, goodbye. Let's get started. Like I said, I was a little bit hesitant to read this book, but overall I did enjoy it. But the very beginning threw me off. Because here's the thing with me, is I don't mind scenes where you're like making out or anything like that. That's almost in every single love story and everything you read. Like they're gonna kiss and make out and everything. I kind of like it to be eased into, if that makes sense. I don't like to be just slammed into it with the first sentence being Kevin jams his tongue in my ear. Like, okay, wait, let's back up. I was not mentally prepared to get into that yet. Can we just, hold on, just wait, pause it. So that kind of was like, okay, what am I reading? Yeah, I'm not lying. Look, this is like the first sentence. Kevin jams his tongue in my ear. So, when you're not mentally prepared for that, it's very jarring. Once you got into the main first scene, it was actually really, really cool. That's the first heist that like she gets caught at, and ooh, it set up a really good, exciting beginning, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what they're gonna be doing. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I mean, I don't approve of her hijacking cars. Don't hijack cars. But I knew it was gonna be adrenaline rush. Don't approve of what she's doing, but it's fun to read. I don't think that statement made it any better whatsoever. You're introduced to Jules, and then you're also introduced to Kevin. Kevin is a very annoying character. I literally thought I was going to be done with him after the first chapter, and I was happy with that. Of course he comes back. Not insanely, like not a lot, but it had the desired effect, because he's a jerk. I know you're doing something illegal. If you're doing something illegal together, you gotta stick together. That's the code. They're basically trying to hijack this car, they get it started, they're driving, and there's basically a police chase going on. And what does he do? She's about to get caught. He jumps out of the car and ditches her, and lets her get all the blame. I'm like, what are you doing? No, stop being a coward, get back in the car, and face your justice. And then of course I'm like, okay, well we're not ever gonna see him again, so it'll be okay. But no, he shows up later in the book, and as soon as they said Kevin, I was like, no, we're not dealing with this dude. I thought he was gone. I was done with him after the first page of this book because he was sticking his tongue in her ear, which is disgusting. Which I'm not the only one that thinks that. The main character says, yeah, it's gross. Didn't like him, if you can't tell. But he did get what was coming to him in the end, so that was pretty fun. Oh, and then Jules has this really cool nickname, Ghost, which is very interesting. It was kind of funny because sometimes, like, when they don't give a character description, like, right off the bat, I usually put myself into it just because it's fun type thing, and it gets me into the book more. And then, like, she was, like, white blonde hair, and I was like, oh, whoops. But I really liked Jules. I really did like the main protagonist, which is good, because in a book like this, sometimes your main protagonist can be a little bit annoying, but she was overall really, really great, and her motives were really strong, I feel like, too. The whole little gang is pretty awesome. You have Matt. Matt is awesome. I was imagining him as Enrique Iglesias for some reason. Don't ask me why, but I was. And oh, he was so cute. With him, with Emma, was so adorable. Oh my gosh, like him and Nick with Emma. That made my whole entire book experience. And then you have Chelsea. Chelsea's like the lock picker. Chelsea, there were moments where she annoyed me, but overall I did really like her. And then we have Nick. I have this thing where when they say crystal blue eyes, I revert to two people. Ian Somerhalder and Jared Leto. And for this one, I chose Jared Leto. Nick, I think some people could be like off-put by him at the beginning because he is kind of rude, but I was like, oh, this is gonna be the love interest, isn't it? They were so gonna fall in love. I loved him. I loved him so much. He might be a little bit cold and icy at first, but his character development, out of all of the characters, I felt like was really probably the most well crafted. Like the personalities on every single character I think is fantastic, but there are some plot holes with a couple of the other characters. Their relationships in books, this is what tends to happen, in my opinion, unless you're like reading a contemporary where the whole point is for them to actually end up together, unless you read like Girl in Pieces. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, connection. And two things either happen. Insta-love, I knew I was going to fall in love with you from the moment I met you. Or they might not necessarily like each other at first, and then they're gonna slowly warm up to each other, which I like more. You finally have that moment in the book where they get together. Now there are some books out there where the whole point of them is for them to actually end up together. So it takes the entire book for them to get together. Usually in fantasy books, in dystopia books, the relationships tend to happen in the middle. And what happens after that is that they hit a snag, and then they break up. And then it takes them forever and ever and ever to realize that they need to go back to each other because they're perfect for each other. If you've read The Darkest Minds, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This, however, surprised me with how well the relationship was. In fact, they kind of hate each other at the beginning. And then it slowly grows into a love. You have this main issue with his car, Vicky. And you know pretty obviously that she stole the car, though she doesn't remember. And I'm like, girl, you stole the car. Well, I'm waiting this entire book for them to get together, and then that conflict hit. Instead, what happened was that issue gets brought up before they're even technically together. She ends up remedying it by finding the car and surprising him with it. But the thing about this relationship is that it doesn't break up. And that was so nice. It was so well built, and I was like, this is great. And you don't have this conflict of them breaking up and being stupid and not being together. I'm gonna keep referencing this. I don't know if you can see it. This is one of the best relationships I've read in a book since, oh, this is gonna take a while. Since Mistborn. Good job in this book. One of your other main characters is with Roger. Now, I don't know how to feel about Roger, and this is where plot holes start coming in. It had kind of an identity crisis with Roger of where it wanted to go. You can have it where he tricks them into being a part of this scheme, but then he ends up actually being an okay guy, and you create some type of weird bond with him. Or you could have it where he's super maniacal and he seems nicer on the forefront, but then he's really crazy and delusional. What I mean by this had an identity crisis was it felt like it was going one way, but then it would change directions and go the other way. I get you're trying to leave it up in the air more so about like if Robert is a good guy or not, but it didn't work completely. If you're gonna go for the thing where they bond with him at the end, actually, I feel like they needed more interaction scenes. Like the scene talking about his wife and they're watching Emma at the pool. That scene was really good. That showed a development forming between Jules and Roger. I feel like you need more of those moments to help like grow it slowly. Because really, it's like they finally reconcile differences at the very, very end when he saves them. And I feel like there should have been a little bit more lead up. With the maniacal thing, they tried to do that with hinting at it after they're trying to get the Bond car. Roger goes berserk because the car is basically destroyed and he's freaking out because he needs this car so badly. And so then I thought they were going into that where he puts on a nice forefront, you have little bits here and there where he cracks, and then he's gonna do something big at the end. At the end, they're trying to find the last car, and then they find out Roger has had it the whole entire time. The way they introduced that was a little bit weird because it was kind of like there was no lead up to that either. Like Eleanor had just disappeared, and then all of a sudden it was like, it's in his garage, what? And then I was like, okay, wait, we missed that whole backstory. But they tried to still put that in with the maniacal thing where it makes it look like he just set them up to fail. But then at the end it changes again because he doesn't ever realize that he had the car in the first place. And so it went from like bonding to maniacal to bonding again. And I was like, which direction do you want Roger to go? It's confusing me. And there were some other plot holes a little bit. Though one of my hypotheses in the book while I was reading was really wrong. There's a moment in there where Chelsea is frustrated because she is doubting that she is valuable to the team. So she's talking about how she's gonna do this, she's gonna pick this lock, and usually, because I'm used to my fantasy books, when people talk about doing something heroic, something kind of goes wrong. I know this is bad, but I literally thought like something was gonna happen to Chelsea while they were trying to get the Bond car. She was gonna get hurt or she was gonna die. I know it's horrible, but that's what I was thinking. I'm one who really likes the twisted plots, if you can't tell that already. But like with Matt and Chelsea, I just feel like their stories were not completely developed. Like with Chelsea's dad and her being the senator's daughter or whatever, you didn't really have that moment where they reconcile. With Matt, his whole thing is trying to find his family. It's not really brought up a ton throughout the thing. Like on the heist, he'll mention like, this is the only reason why I'm here, but you don't really see Roger trying to do anything with that. And it's not until the very end that he's on the trail of them. Riley was kind of the same though too, is that I know he's supposed to be an evil villain type thing, but I feel like he wasn't developed completely enough. I mean, he does hold Nick at gunpoint, which was scary, and I was like, don't you dare hurt Nick. Your main characters, yes, the whole premise puts them at jeopardy, but you never really have where like one character, I mean, besides Emma getting kidnapped, Emma, you don't have enough time with her, I feel like. You just know she's important to Jules. There's not as much investment, I feel like, in Emma, for me, than like Matt, Chelsea, Nick, Jules. I wanted to have something a little bit where one of the characters was in danger a little bit more and the rest of them had to help them. They were all so safe that until the point where Chelsea started talking about trying to prove herself more, I really felt like nothing was really going to happen to them. The main trouble, though, that I did have with this book, the ending. I have this thing with books where I hate it. A big event just happened, and it ends. And then it cuts to however many years later. It summarizes everything that happens to them during the time period that you missed. You know what I mean, though? Like, they'll be like, it's 6 years later, and then it'll be like, oh, so John ran off into the sunset and got married with Jill, and Mary ended up getting that scholarship to school and is now a lawyer. That I don't like, where they summarize this whole life like really quickly in one chapter, and that kind of happened in this book. You have this whole huge car chase scene with the police and Riley and Roger, which is intense, and then it cuts to 6 months later. Chelsea is gonna be able to go to Harvard now. Matt is in Mexico searching for his parents. Jules is starting her own ballet school now. I wanted to see all of that instead of hearing about it 6 months later. I don't like it when stuff ends like that. I want to see it actually play out. Like, that is 10 times more satisfying. I mean, it was happy ending, which was nice, but I didn't completely like how this was wrapped up. It was overall really good. All the heist scenes, by the way, were fantastic. Like the one where they have to steal the car from the show. Oh my gosh, I was panicking. No, that's basically all I have to say about this book. It was super fun. If you haven't read this, first of all, why did you stick around for the spoilers? I just ruined this entire book for you. Also, you should actually go out and read it. Me talking about it is one thing, you actually reading it is a whole nother experience. I think it's really good. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a nice light read. Thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful evening, nighttime, that's the same thing, noon, morning, whatever time of the day it is. And don't forget to be awesome, and please don't go hijacking cars. Please. don't. If you have any other book or movie recommendations or any other type of videos you want to see me do, like a Q&A or a type of tag or anything like that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll definitely check the recommendations out and do them, and I'll have a review for you eventually. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to be awesome and don't hijack cars. Alright, goodbye!